Everything outside this moment is a lie, and I'm going to argue for it today. Descartes said, "I think, therefore I am," and he had one thing right, but I still maintain that that phrase is the biggest flaw that we have come up with in philosophy. And I say this partly because I got taken up by it, and it definitely caused me some issues where I had to realign myself and try and fix this problem. But he had one thing right. The only thing that we can know for sure is this present moment. The past is flavoured, is coloured, is almost fabricated by our biases, by our filters, by what we wish and what we want to have happened, what we identify with. Maybe even like on the negative front, we identify with the negative, and therefore that becomes more salient, and everything is seen through that lens and relative to that salient thing. It is not objective by any means, and the amount of research that I can use to support that is immense. The future has not happened yet. It is therefore a story, it is a promise, it is not real because it hasn't been realised yet. That is self-evident, and you intuitively know this. So where does that leave us? Are we in a matrix? Are we plugged in? Are we pod people? And is our energy being absorbed by this big robotic AI force? I know that's abstract, but we've all watched The Matrix, so we understand the imagery and we understand why that's so salient to us. So, if that is the case, what exactly are we? What is truth? If truth cannot be found in the past and cannot be found in the future, what is truth? Where is it? Because now I'm starting to feel a little unsettled. I'm starting to feel a little uneasy, like the ground beneath my feet is shaking, is quaking, is cracking. There is an answer. And we can follow Descartes. I think, therefore I am. This moment is as close to truth as we can muster, as we can manage. But it goes further. I can aim this at creative people, but we've all experienced this. We'll use creatives as our blueprint for a moment. We've all seen the musician play the music, the singer sing the song. We've all thought of the writer writing the book, the poem, the play. Every single one of them will have experienced a time where they stopped playing, they stopped writing, they stopped singing, and something else played through them, sang through them, wrote through them. This is muse. This is flow. That moment where truth, what is true, that kind of confusing analytical brain switches off and surrenders into the moment. We've all experienced this. We've all been at a match and celebrated. We've all been with our friends, with the banter, with the jokes, with the ribbing and the fun. And we've all been caught up in that flow. And did we manifest that on our own? No. Which is also why Descartes is so wrong. I think, therefore I am. The arrogance that we are created by ourselves. Just know, we are social creatures and we are socially constructed creatures. We have time alone where we can go off into our own space and we can reflect and we can refine who we are, what we are. But then we come back into the world and we meet reality, and then we are affected. And in that pendulum swing between the individual and the collective is what life is. Regardless, I just find that, that's salient for me, because for a long time I thought I was a self-made man. I thought this man was an island, and I was wrong. Because we're not. I stand on the shoulders of giants. I'm in a house at the moment that is built by other people. I am talking to a camera that was built by another person. I have no idea how that works. I have no idea how to build it, how to fix it, other than the basics. I don't know. There is a collective intelligence in this moment alone. Never mind the philosophy that I am reciting or that I am referencing to. Never mind the college I went to that builds the theoretical knowledge. Never mind the friends that socialized me. Never mind the parents that raised me. Everything else. And yes, there is an individual component, there is an individual here. I'm not trying to say we are a hive mind and that we are ants or anything like that. I'm trying to say that there are many parts that make us. There is bacteria and different cells. There are parts that make the whole of the human, but then the human is part of higher patterns. I'm not going to say a spirit. I'm not going to say God. Like, as in, you can be secular. I do not require any sort of God-giving magic sort of belief here. I simply mean that when you are on a team, you sacrifice yourself to a team spirit, and that team spirit carries you forward. That is what I'm referring to. That is amongst 11 people for soccer. That is amongst whatever size your team is. Expand that out to culture, expand that out to nation, expand that out to your town, to your village, to your neighborhood. There are mini cultures. Regardless that, again, Descartes gets under my skin. I apologize because I fell for it and it still stings a wee bit. But what I want to bring with me today, and I want to offer you an exercise today to kind of follow this on, because last week we described writing out your story, breaking it up into parts so that you could understand the trajectory, the little chapters, the little checkpoints that you've hit so far, and you would get a running jump up to the current moment so that you would understand perhaps where you're going, or perhaps where you could go, what the potential could be. And that's powerful. I am not here to tell you that your past is an ultimate fiction and that your future is an ultimate fiction. The stories that we tell ourselves are lies. But they have a quality. They have a purpose. They are an amazing tool for motivating us into the future, for bringing us to where we want to go and creating and manifesting and all of that sort of stuff. But they are an awful master. If they are the deciding force behind everything, it's not good. You have to realize that we are biased and that that we are flawed. We are not that intelligent. The maps that we use to understand the world get like 90% right, but reality is always more complex than the map. Always. Every memory you have is more complex than the version that you have. Every understanding you have of physics, every understanding that experts have of physics and everything else is good but not perfect. It is not true reality. There is a reason why we can only predict 10 days into the future for the weather, because emergent properties, reality is more complex. It is not like a robot where you take all the pieces apart, you put them all back together. No, it is like a bird, where if you take all the pieces apart, it ceases to be a bird. Or if I try and put all the pieces together, what makes a bird? Feathers, feet, beak, it flies. I could be very dark here and put all of those bits on a table and throw them up in the air and ask you if that's a bird. And we'd all agree it's not. So let's not mistake the map for the territory. Reality is always more complex. This moment is the only moment that is true, or is the closest we can get to truth. And we can find it in flow when we really contact reality. When we really contact something. The ancient Greeks called this logos. This was the patterns expressing itself through you. The Eastern philosophy calls this the Wu Wei. That's the Taoist principle. I know that phrase or that kind of term sounds a little bit strange to our Western ears, but the Wu Wei essentially is roughly translated into the art of not doing. That's incorrect. It is the art of not getting in your own way, of not overthinking and stopping the energy that's flowing through. It is the art of allowing things to pass through, to allow the moment to catch you. So different philosophers have had this. And we, our arrogant Western world believes that we are the masters of the universe, that we should never sacrifice ourselves into the moment, even though the moments that we have done it are the best moments. So I am only through Vervaeke's Dialogos workshop this weekend. These are the workshops I host myself every 2 to 3 weeks. I will post up whenever the next date is. I haven't set it yet, but keep an eye out for that. These workshops are conversations where you talk to each other and you don't talk about a third, something else, a memory or a future or a theory or a concept or anything like that. You are talking in the moment, to the moment, and you try to catch flow. It is beautiful. And what you do then is you try to place a virtue into that space in between. A virtue is something that you cannot have, you cannot hold. The map doesn't capture it. The word doesn't capture it. You try and describe authenticity. You try and say, I have it now and I'm finished. I never have to worry about authenticity again. No. It is something that you relate to. It is something that's beyond words. So when you talk to this present moment and you put the virtue in the middle of a group of 4, and you just circle around and you create this space and you come as far as language will bring you, as far as these concepts, these ideas will bring you, and then you just enjoy the present moment. You savor it like wine. And you say, hey, I can't describe you. I can describe an aspect of what this virtue is: wisdom, courage, tenacity, but I can't capture it. And it's a beautiful moment. So I'm just out of that, hence the energy and hence the glowing today. But for today, I want to leave you with an exercise to help make this a felt sense. If you agree with any of this kind of thought process, great, perfect. You know, I'm there's fellowship there. I appreciate that we see each other, that you understand this. But I want to offer you an exercise that makes you feel it, because it's a felt sense. It's so much more rich when you feel it. So the exercise I will leave with you to do in your own time. You don't have to do it with me here in this moment. Okay, it's a 2-part exercise. First, I want you to find your center. This means physically find your center. And I don't mean stand up straight, be uptight, like, military sort of, like, discipline, and no. I mean through contrast, through knowing what is not balance. So you lean forward until you feel like you're out of balance. You lean back until you feel like you're out of balance, and forward again. And you develop the sensitivity to where your true center is. And then you do it again, side to side. Again, until you are out of balance and until you find a felt sense of balance. You do it with your head. Forward, back. Again, finding that balance and side to side. This is trying to find your center. Then I want you to follow your breath. Try and center yourself, your attention onto your breath. This is because your breath is the one thing that connects your subconscious to your conscious. It is the one thing that connects your interior to your exterior. That is why. So feel the in, the out. Feel the expanse and the contraction. And then lastly, center your attitude. So center your posture, your physicality. Center your attention onto your breath, and center your attitude onto how you're centering your attention onto your breath. Do not get frustrated. Oh, why are my thoughts going out this way? We have to use an analogy for this. The monkey mind, or they use the term the puppy mind, if you'd prefer instead, which is where to correct your attention instead of like, get back here, no. If you use anger and frustration, you are teaching yourself to be afraid and to fight. If you just appreciate, it's gone, Oh, it's gone over there. Oh, that's a door. Then you're not centering you're not putting any, that's not going to work. But befriend your thoughts. It's not your thoughts, it's your attention. Your attention back to breath. It gets lost. It starts worrying. Here's the trick. When it starts worrying, predicting, remembering, stressing, label it an ing word and come back to breath. Treat this as if you were taking off glasses each time. Oh, I was stressing. Oh, I was fantasizing. Oh, I was worrying. No worries, come back to breath and practice that. This is a great exercise for meditation and finding your center and not getting lost in the past, in the future, in the concepts, in the abstract, in the maps that we tell ourselves. This is I am not overly developed in this area. This is a practice I learnt a year ago. I will have many more years before this is truly something that I have mastered and internalized and that I've integrated with my everyday life. But so far, it is powerful. The amount of times that we will need to do this is probably the same amount that you need to master any skill, which is 10,000 hours. There's so much of our time spent remembering stuff and predicting stuff, the past, the future, and the concepts and the theories and the abstracts that we try to use to navigate all of these things outside of the present moment. So I'm sure it will take quite a while, but so far it has been very valuable for me navigating my own feelings and the patterns and energies that I flow through. So that is to bring us into the moment. And then to try and connect to the bigger patterns, the logos, the things outside of us. There is a meditation to recognize the systems, to recognizing the patterns that we are in, to recognizing the patterns that go beyond that, how the parts become a whole. All the cells that make you a whole, all the atoms that make this house a whole, all the parts that make this room a room. That's one level. Then zoom out. All the houses that make this neighborhood a neighborhood. All the people that make this neighborhood a community. Then go out a bit further. All the communities that make culture, make the bigger movements. And how there is a harmony, there is musicality to these levels. That yes, they can have difficulty between them, but they still move. They never stagnate. It is always alive and moving. So, there are further levels to that, but I don't feel comfortable going past that myself in this capacity. I will leave a little PDF linked so that you can look at the further levels of the oneness, of the emptiness, of everything else, which is things I enjoy practicing, but I am still understanding. But for today, that is the practice. Finding your center on the 3 levels. Your physical center, your attitudinal center, or your attentional center and your attitudinal center. And then the contemplative practice of recognizing that we are part of bigger patterns. We are part of bigger wholes. And that everything outside of this present moment is a lie. But as a good man told me over the weekend, don't trust me. My life's a lie too. So have at it, enjoy. I hope you have a great week. And I will see you next week, guys. Bye.